Hello, and welcome to episode number 74 of Wrestle Erotica, the podcast that combines wrestling and erotica. This week we have one story to share with you. This story is entitled, Some Assembly Required. After a playful picnic, Finn Balor reveals his true feelings for Sami Zayn. The two then head back to Sami Zayn's place, where they engage in a lot of silly but sensual playtime. Without further ado, let's get to this week's stories. This story is entitled, Some Assembly Required, and it was written by Thespian Sparkle. When they look back on that day, neither of them can really figure out who exactly started it. They'd been collapsed on the grass near the water, where they'd been kayaking, eating the food they'd brought with them. And on top of that, CJ has had to head out early and left half of a six-pack behind, and Finn could scarcely let it go to waste. Right? Finn didn't want to be greedy, but Sami insisted each time Finn offered that he was really fine. Didn't need one. Finn should go right ahead. Finn was full of questions too, eyes wide and smile wider, chattering quicker with each empty bottle. Did Sami really not drink at all? Never had? Had he ever wanted to? Had he ever tasted anything? You know, Finn said, after one of these rapid-fire question rounds. At any point you can invite me to kindly shut the fuck up, yeah? Sami laughed. I really don't mind you asking, you know. Most people kind of dance around it. The directness is, I don't know, it's kind of refreshing. I am direct, Finn acknowledged, finishing the last of the final bottle. It's part of my charm. Sami had to bite back a litany of replies about how that was hardly the biggest part of Finn's charm. But the light flush that spread across Sami's cheeks as he sat quietly said a lot. Finn hesitated for a moment, then moved a bit closer. As close to Sami's side as he could get, without outright cuddling. This was awesome, Finn said, sincerely, that huge smile spreading across his face. Thanks for asking me along. Sami slung an arm around Finn's shoulders, trying for all the world to act like it was a casual thing, though the little flutter in his chest suggested it was anything but. Anytime, man! Glad you came along, Sami replied, a little too brightly, staring just a little too long and then looking away. They sat for a few seconds like that, Sami's arm around Finn's shoulders, not quite making eye contact, before Finn breathed, fuck it, and leaned in, just as Sami muttered, hell with this, and leaned in from his side, crashing lips together in a clumsy, teeth-filled kiss that should have been painful, but somehow wasn't. They pulled apart after a moment, both breathing harder than they wanted to admit for such a brief, clumsy thing, both laughing breathlessly. You like the directness, huh? Finn asked hopefully. Yeah, Sami said, sliding his hand slowly down Finn's back. Yeah, it suits you. Can you please fucking take me home with you then? Finn replied, voice lowering to almost a growl, the effect surprisingly unspoiled by the huge grin on his face. Ask me nice, Sami teased, but that was quickly lost to a gasp as Finn gripped his waist hard and kissed him again. Bruising and aggressive. I said please, Finn said when he pulled back, hands still gripping hard on Sami's waist. You can still ask nicer than that, Sami admonished, feeling a little spark of power at how wide Finn's eyes got at that sudden scrollum. Please, 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 Finn said, as sweet as he could manage, smiling and half giggling. Please, Sami. That's much better. It's a good thing you drove over with me, huh? Sami said, trying to sound far cockier than he felt, every nerve in his body on high alert, half weighing the odds of getting caught if he blew Finn right here and now. Finn didn't really reply, just set about gathering their things together quickly, arms overflowing with empty bottles and towels and supplies, looking like a comedy act. So eager was he to get to Sammy's car and get to Sammy's place. And Finn thought, get naked. Ideally get Sammy naked too. But Finn figured that was one of those one step at a time sort of things. Can I give you a hand? Sammy asked, and Finn's mouth ran roughshod ahead of his brain as he replied, if that's your thing, yeah. But I had some other ideas in mind. Feeling his face heat up a bit at the brazenness of that statement, feeling flooded with relief when Sammy laughed loud and long. That makes two of us, Sammy said, tongue feeling too big for his mouth. Cliched responses all that sprung to mind as he grabbed the last few things Finn couldn't pick up and scurried. Yes, scurried to the car. The car ride had flown by on the way over that morning, but in the fading light of the afternoon, it felt like a small lifetime. Both of them wondering desperately what was okay to do, and what wasn't. Could they touch? Could they kiss? Could they? Finn was bolder, and slowly crept a playfully predatory hand up Sammy's leg, and Sammy didn't move to stop him, though he flinched a bit when Finn brushed his knee. Careful, Sammy says, a little giggly. I'm driving. I can see that, Finn retorts, and I barely touched you. I've got ticklish knees, Sammy mumbles, flushing a bit, and Finn's smile went back to full blast. Sammy could feel the power of it without even looking at him. Any other fun little spots I should know about, huh? Finn asked, far too eagerly, and Sammy smirked. I'll never tell, Sammy says, sing-song. Guess you'll have to find them all yourself. Finn puts on a feigned pout, flopping back in his seat, trying to act as though his head wasn't absolutely spinning at the idea of searching Sammy's body with fingers and teeth and tongue. Embarrassed at the shot of sparkling need that little tease had shot straight to his cock, concentrating all his energy on not whimpering out loud. You're awfully quiet all of a sudden, Sammy says, sounding a bit worried. Yeah, well, keeping myself from blowing you in the car takes some focus. Finn shoots back, and really, Sammy had said he liked Finn's directness, but Finn was fairly certain he was pushing up against the limits of said enjoyment. Judging by the bright, red flush that spread itself across Sammy's cheeks at that statement. Finn would be lying to himself if he didn't admit that there was little more he enjoyed more than testing limits, than pushing too much, seeing how much he could get away with, and just how much he could get in reply. And the look on Sammy's face was offering him all sorts of promises for what he might have in store when they got home. You're a little brat, aren't you? Sammy says, a little hitch in his voice. And Finn couldn't hold back a moan at the sound of that from Sammy. What if I am? Finn asked, knowing full well how he sounded. How needy, how hopeful. But something about being around Sammy made him want to play, made him feel safe and desperate all at once. Finally not holding back that slow burning crush anymore, and just... We're here, Sammy says, which wasn't nearly a satisfying enough answer to Finn's question. But the sudden hard bruising kiss Sammy leaned over and pressed against Finn's mouth stood in for an answer for the moment. Finn groping back clumsily anywhere he could get his hands, flushing hot at the needy little sound that tore from his lips when Sammy pulled away. Please, let's just get inside, Finn breathes and Sammy nods, dropping his keys at least twice on the very short walk between the parking lot and the door to the apartment. And on the second drop, Finn couldn't resist smacking Sammy on the ass, resulting in a very delightful squeal. After an embarrassing amount of attempts to unlock the door, Sammy's hands shaky, sure, but the two of them also just couldn't stop giggling, and it was making it challenging to actually accomplish anything. They fairly tumbled through it, Finn making a beeline for the couch and flopping onto it on his back, kicking off his sandals as he does. The bedroom's over there, Sammy says dryly. Want to make out on your couch first? Finn replies, grinning. Come on, it'll be fun. Sammy can't resist an enticingly wiggly Finn, and pounces on top of him, and the two of them start kissing in earnest. Finn's hands tangling in Sammy's hair, and Sammy sliding hands down Finn's sides, sneaking them under his shirt to touch the warm, flush skin of his abs. Finn letting out a little squeak when Sammy does. What? Sammy says, mocking Finn's earlier tone. I barely touched you. Finn only tries to kiss back harder and deeper, squeaking helplessly into Sammy's mouth when he repeated the gesture. Ticklish? Sammy asks, grinning. Sort of? Finn replies, blushing. Sort of. Sammy repeats back to him. That doesn't sound sort of. Yeah, it's... Sometimes, yeah. I mean, not really. I'm not usually ticklish, so no. Mostly no. But sometimes if I'm all sort of round up, I get ticklish here and there. So, sorta yeah. Finn says, aware he's absolutely babbling. You seem a little wound up right now, yeah? Sammy says, smiling, tickling a little more deliberately. And Finn went into a delighted little giggle fit, thrashing under Sammy, and slipping his hands under Sammy's shirt in return, trying to tickle back, resulting in an equally thrashing, giggly Sammy. What's wrong, Sammy? Finn taunts. Are you ticklish? I definitely am. Sammy squeals happily. Stop! What if I don't, huh? What happens if I don't? Finn says, amazed at how easily he fell back into that bratty mode where Sammy was concerned. More than a little embarrassed at just how badly he wanted Sammy to get him back, make him apologize, knock him down any way he could. Sammy leans his mouth very close to Finn's ear and whispers, sort of growly and rumbling, just right through Finn's nerves. If you don't, I get to make you very, very sorry. And now neither of them were tickling anymore, just grabbing and squeezing, and kissing clumsy and sloppy. Kisses landing anywhere they could. Finn grinding up and grabbing at Sammy's ass, as Sammy pushes down against him. You couldn't make me sorry! Finn gasped, the words feeling false in his mouth, as Sammy's tongue trod a teasing pattern down the side of his neck, fluttering against the pulse point there. Yeah, I could. Sammy chuckles into Finn's skin. You're easy, I think. Sinking his teeth into Finn's neck as he finished talking. Finn letting out a gorgeous stream of curses.
Fuckface! Dickhead! Asshole!
And arching up off the couch, tilting his head for more. Oh, Sammy! Fuck, please! Finn says, knowing he shouldn't break so easily. Shouldn't beg so quickly. But he wanted, needed, fucking craved so much more than this slow tease. Needing Sammy to make him sorry. Needing Sammy to make him beg even more. Needing Sammy. Just Sammy. Endlessly Sammy.
Aww.
Like I said. Sammy whispers, mouthing kisses across Finn's neck to the other side. Easy. And he bites down hard there for good measure, before sitting back up. If Sammy had thought about it much, it would have surprised him too how easily he was able to slip into such a commanding role. How much Finn's behavior filled him with tremendous fondness. Really, made him want to give Finn whatever he wanted. And knowing that right now what Finn wanted was to be knocked down, taken down, it was vibrating all over him. Shockwave of want radiating from his skin, but it was all clicking just right in his head, giving him all the right sensation, and he was only too happy to please Finn this way. To give Finn this, whatever he needed. Are we done on the couch then? Sammy says, as though he's really considering it, and Finn nodded almost fast enough to hurt himself, trying to still sound steady, but knowing he was anything but. If you want, Finn says, I guess I could find it in my heart to go to bed with you. Maybe you could actually do something to make me sorry in there. Though I doubt it. Finn actually shivered at the look on Sammy's face at that. An intensely knowing look. A look that said he knew all of Finn's little secrets and hidden weaknesses. and that he was entirely prepared to take advantage of each and every one till Finn cried mercy. And probably kiss him silly in between. At least Finn hoped that's what the look said. Want to find out? Sami asked, climbing off Finn and starting to shrug off his t-shirt as he walked coolly toward the bedroom. Hearing the thud as Finn fell off the couch in his eagerness to follow. Sami starts laughing at the sound of the thud and Finn's muffled scream of cursing. He couldn't help it. He's not sure why the couch can really go fuck itself. And Finn's eagerness is frankly adorable. Suddenly he feels hands on his shoulders and Finn yelping, "Here I come!" And before Sami could process much, Finn's legs wrap around his waist. "Are you seriously? Carry me!" Finn demands right into Sami's ear, and Sami squeals and giggles at the sensation. He swears he can feel Finn lighting up without having to see him. "Oh," Finn says cheerfully. "Did I find another one of those fun spots?" "Yeah," Sami says, feeling his cheeks heat up, but not really seeing much of a point in lying. Finn doesn't really answer as Sami continues half stumbling to the bedroom. But he starts planting kisses all over Sami's ear, and giggling into it, and it's all Sami can do not to drop Finn till they get in there. "Go on," Sami says, turning his back to the bed so Finn can flop onto it, grinning at him in the mirror across from the foot of the bed. Finn isn't thinking about that. No, he can't do that right now. Not pressed up against Sami's back as he is. Finn shows no real signs of letting go though, so Sami has to reach back and try to tickle at his stomach to get him to move. "Not ticklish there now," Finn says, enjoying every moment of brattiness he can squeeze out. But that's quickly lost to a screech of, "No!" as Sami grabs at his ankles to try to untangle his legs. Now it's Sami's turn to grin smugly. Finn can catch the reflection in the mirror, and knows Sami can see his panicky eyes and nervous smile. "Let go," Sami says calmly. "Make me," Finn says, wrapping tighter. Arms locked around Sami's neck as he tries, subtly, to pull his ankle away from Sami's grip. Sami only tightens said grip and replies, "If you insist." And Finn is already giggling and nuzzling against Sami's neck and ear, and saying, "No, before Sami touches his foot. When Sami makes contact though, Finn howls. Absolutely howls. And thrashes so hard he takes Sami down with him, landing on the bed with Sami on top of him, still holding Finn's ankle and softly tickling Finn's feet. "No! Sami, no! Sami, stop!" Finn says, trying to sound very tough, but the sea of sweet, high giggles the words are floating in somehow spoils that effect. Finn is still mouthing at Sami's ear through this, now more of a defensive maneuver, and Sami is moaning and giggling himself, and this is really a fairly ridiculously cuddly mess that they've landed in.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Finn wrapped around Sami like a clinging vine, Sami holding Finn's leg. Sami's fingers brush against Finn's toes, and Finn starts slamming his hand against the bed. "I give! I'm tapping!" Finn begs, gasping the words between louder giggles, thrashing harder than ever. "Fuck! Please! No more!" As delightful as all that giggling and squirming is, Sami decides to have mercy and releases Finn's leg, and sits up slightly so Finn can slip out from under him, panting. "Still don't think I can make you sorry," Sami says, rolling over on his side so he can look at Finn. Finn gives him that huge, dazzling grin in reply, a few residual giggles still spilling out. "Tickling," Finn says as seriously as he can muster, "is cheating. You didn't say you would cheat, and you said you weren't ticklish." Sami replies, and Finn at least has the good grace to blush. Sami knows the last thing he should do is reward Finn, but he's so flushed and breathless, chest heaving, and Sami can't possibly resist. He pulls Finn to him, abruptly enough to make Finn gasp, and kisses his mouth roughly. Hand firm behind Finn's head, and he swears it's like he feels Finn melt, surrendering against him. Sami is really almost astounded by how completely he feels Finn shift in his grasp, how utterly malleable Finn has become pressed up against him. Not a trace of that insistent, playful brattiness coming through. Finn is all raw open-kneed, quietly desperate in the way he's kissing Sami back. Little whimpers slipping between their lips every time Sami pulls back for air. When Sami pauses just a little longer, long enough to look into Finn's eyes, Finn has the hugest, most dazed grin Sami has ever seen. His eyes glazed but glowing. "Holy shit!" Finn says nearly reverently. "Sami, you..." Sami grins right back, trying not to feel too cocky, although the worshipful look in Finn's eyes is addictive. "Yeah?" Sami says, kissing Finn again. Shorter but rougher, and this time when they break apart, Finn actually whines. Sami isn't really used to anyone looking up at him like this. He has to admit, he could very easily get used to the sensation. "Sami!" Finn moans. "Well," whines really. "Sami! Please! Please! Please!" "Please what? Huh? You gotta play nice now, little brat?" Sami asks, taunting a little more than he normally might. But the little shiver that he can feel run through Finn tells him it was the right choice. "Yes, please! Sami! What do you want? I'll do anything!" Finn says, and Sami can tell from the way the words fall out of Finn's mouth that Finn isn't entirely used to the way they feel, like they're catching and tripping up on his tongue. And Sami wants to cherish that sensation. "What do I want?" Sami says, trying to make it sound more like a taunt and less like he hadn't really imagined Finn surrendering so easily. "Yeah," Finn sighs, mouthing at Sami's ear between words, making Sami shudder and giggle breathlessly. "Tell me, please. You win." "I'm sorry." And Finn nips down behind Sami's ear, finding the spot that seemed to draw a particularly loud gasp, and Sami curses short and sharp in Arabic. I want to fuck you."
Oh yeah!
Sami groans, as Finn continues nipping and sucking a line of marks down Sami's neck, across his collarbone, feeling Finn gasp when Sami says it. "But first, fuck, Finn! Let me blow you, please." Finn laughs at that, a shaky sound that comes from deep in his gut, leaning back off Sami's neck to look at him. "I thought you were going to make me sorry," Finn says, and Sami hears that touch of willfulness starting back into Finn's tone and manages a grin. "Didn't say I'd let you come, did I?" Sami says, knowing in his heart that he doesn't mean it at all, but it has the desired effect, making Finn's eyes grow wide and alarmed, and yes, there's a little bit of extra excitement in there too, mingling in beautifully. "You wouldn't!" Finn says as he shimmies his shorts off. Sami isn't in the least surprised to see that Finn evidently favors neither in the boxers or briefs debate, and lays out on the bed flat on his back, spreading his legs just enough that the muscles in his thighs flex and tremble a bit. Finn is, if nothing else, acutely aware of how lovely he looks on display, and is not, and never has been, above flaunting it. "Try me," Sami says, with the confidence he doesn't feel, licking his lips involuntarily at the sight in front of him. Finn leaning back against the pillows, and already, clearly more than ready for Sami's mouth. Sami makes quick work of his own shorts and underwear, and climbs on top of Finn, straddling him, and gives him a long, slow kiss, one that makes Finn moan and arch up against Sami. "Keep your arms above your head," Sami hisses when he pulls back, and Finn, obediently, stretches his arms up, gripping the headboard tightly, the motion pulling the muscles of his torso even more taut than usual. Sami starts kissing at Finn's neck now, slow and leisurely, licking long, shivery trails against his skin. Finn so deliciously responsive and noisy with each one, satisfied little cries letting Sami know when he's hit a sweet spot. Sami bares his teeth at Finn a bit, and Finn lets out the most delighted giggle, whispering, "Yeah, I like that too. Go ahead." And Sammy starts to nibble tentatively, at first, and then harder when Finn presses up against him. Hands still on the headboard, but arms starting to tremble. Sammy slowly continues sliding down Finn's body, trailing the kisses and bites lower as he goes. When Sammy's teeth and tongue find their way to Finn's nipples, Finn arches up even harder and lets out a loud, juicy, "Ah, fuck!" that makes Sammy start back for a moment, eyes widening with concern. "No, no!" Finn says quickly. "No, it's good. It's so good." And Sammy tilts his head and smirks before blowing a little puff of air against the damp skin of Finn's chest, making Finn squeal. "Is that good?" Finn says, now alternately licking softly at Finn's nipples, making him moan, and blowing air over the damp trails. And Finn is thrashing and squealing happily underneath him, the writhing feeling glorious for them both. And really, at this point, it's hard to tell who's giggling more. "You're mean!" Finn gasps, sounding absolutely thrilled. "You're awful!" "No." Sammy says, grinning. "Awful would be if I did this." And Sammy suddenly blows a raspberry right against Finn's abs. And this sensation is so tingly, it erupts that Finn shrieks and almost bucks Sammy off, his arms coming off the headboard to try to shove Sammy's head away. "Fucking bastard!" Finn manages to gasp once he's recovered. "How old are you?" The huge grin on his face belying his attempts to sound angry. "Was that another one of those sort of ticklish things?" Sammy asked, tilting his head. The very portrait of wide-eyed innocence. And Finn can't help but surrender again, hands over his face and giggling helplessly. "I don't know what it was," Finn squeaks, a little hysterical. "But if you ever tell anyone about that, I swear to God, never," Sammy says solemnly, eyes sparkling. "Besides, you should have seen Adrian when I tried that on him." And Sammy is kissing more firmly now. Slow sucking kisses all over Finn's abs that send fluttery butterflies of sensation starting up in Finn's belly. And he can't help but tangle his hands in Sammy's hair, pulling them back quickly when Sammy looks up at him warningly. "Told you to keep those hands up," Sammy says, a little bit of a growl in his voice. And Finn swallows hard and considers disobeying before slowly raising them back above his head. He's so hard now that it's nearly painful, and Finn can feel himself growing increasingly desperate for Sammy's mouth on his cock, feeling the pleas rising up in his throat in spite of his best efforts to bite them back, to try to play even a little bit tough. But Sammy's kisses are trailing lower still, and Finn can't hold back. "Oh, Sammy! Sammy!" Finn groans, knuckles going white from the tightness of his grip on the headboard, the words spilling out almost unconsciously. "Please! Fucking please! Suck me! I need it! I need you! Please don't! You're killing me! You're a fucking tease, Sammy! Come on!" "I'm a tease now," Sammy says, that growl still in his voice. "What, Finn? You think this is bad? I could make you scream till you're hoarse. And still, not let you come. You know that." Finn lets out a high, shuddery wail. He honestly hadn't thought Sammy had this in him. But now, with Sammy sucking and biting at his hip bones, and the hollows beside them, almost ticklish thrill shooting through his body, with each brush of Sammy's beard and teeth and tongue, Finn absolutely believes that Sammy would leave him like this, dripping and aching with need. And Finn is fairly certain that it would kill him at this point. "Yes, Sammy! Please, please! Mercy! Please! You can fuck me as hard as you need to! Make me scream! But please, fucking make me come! I need it! I need you! Finn cries, barely recognizing the sound of his own voice, barely understanding how this had cycled multiple times now, from the giggliest, most playful fun to this desperate aching need, but somehow feeling that it was precisely what he needed. "Oh!" Sammy coos. "Good boy!" And before Finn can snap out a retort, Sammy's mouth is engulfing Finn's cock, warm and wet, and Finn can do nothing but scream, wondering if it's possible to actually snap the headboard. He's squeezing it so hard, concentrating all his will on not actively fucking Sammy's mouth, not shoving himself down Sammy's throat, not letting himself go completely in this gorgeous sea of sensations. For all the world, though, it seems like Sammy wants Finn to do just that. So tight is Sammy's grip on Finn's hips, fingers digging into the hip bones, so hard Finn prays they're bruised. Sammy letting out little whimpers that Finn can feel down the whole length of his cock, and Sammy pulls back just long enough to say, "It's okay, Finn. I can take it." And Finn thrusts up as soon as Sammy starts sucking again, letting out a long scream of shuddering pleasure at the feeling of Sammy taking him deeper in his mouth, nearly into his throat. Finn can't last. Absolutely can't. It's everywhere. It's all over him, shining and sparkling. And, "Sammy! Sammy! Sammy!" is the last thing he hears himself say before he's coming hard and shaking. Thighs trembling and chest heaving, but his hands still so tight on the headboard, he's not sure he'll ever pry them off. Sammy rides it out with him, still gripping Finn's hips but starting to soften a bit. Sammy eventually sliding his hands down to Finn's thighs to rub them as Sammy starts to pull his mouth off of Finn's cock. Pulling off completely, only when Finn is starting to twitch and let out screamy little noises. Sammy releases Finn's thighs, then, and wipes his mouth with the back of his hand, noticing Finn's grip on the headboard and giggling a little bit. "Finn!" Sammy says gently, You can let go now." "Right," Finn says, eyes closed tightly, showing no signs of movement. "We'll get right on that. Yes, absolutely. Letting go. Gonna do that." Sammy laughs and gently starts to rub Finn's biceps, Sammy's long, strong fingers releasing the tensions that had built up there, and the warm massage relaxes Finn enough that his own fingers start to uncurl their grip, Finn hissing a little bit. "Gimme," Sammy says softly, taking one of Finn's hands and starting to rub the fingers firmly. And Finn lets out a happy little murmur before offering Sammy his other hand, hopefully, eyes opening and blinking at Sammy sweetly. "That one too?" Finn asks, that grin making its way across his face again. And Sammy can't help but laugh as he switches to massaging Finn's other hand, until Finn is making happy, soft noises. "There you go," Sammy says. "Good as new." And Finn clenches and unclenches his fingers a few times before sitting himself up, shakily, leaning in to give Sammy a kiss. "I stand corrected," Finn murmurs against Sammy's mouth. "You absolutely can make me very, very sorry. I will spread the word far and wide and near." Sammy laughs at that, reaching up to rub at Finn's hair affectionately. "It'll be our secret," Sammy says. "And besides, I think there is something else you promised me." Finn answers, feeling as though he's recovered enough to get just a little bit bratty. "I'm not sure I remember anything else. I think I might have just shot most of my brains down your throat." Sammy laughs even louder, which makes Finn's whole face light up. "We'll see if I can refresh your memory then," Sammy says, pushing Finn back onto his back and climbing on top of him, and Finn starts giggling before Sammy does a thing. "What's so funny?" Sammy asks, laughing back with him, and Finn squirrels out, I don't know," eyes sparkling and cheeks pink and flushed. "You don't know," Sammy says in pretend horror. "You really did just cum your brains out. You've got amnesia. This is terrible." What are we gonna do? All Finn can say in reply is, I don't know! His laughter getting more hysterical by the moment. The afterglow of such an intense orgasm, turning him giddy and goofy. I can try shock therapy, Sammy cries, doing his best mad scientist laugh. Or at least one he's pretty sure he heard in a movie. And before Finn can stop him, Sammy has wiggled downward and positioned his mouth right over Finn's belly. No! Finn cries, but to no avail. Finn swears every nerve ending in his body lights up when Sammy gets his mouth on Finn's abs and blows enthusiastically. And Finn absolutely howls laughing. You're the worst! Finn shrieks, shoving Sammy away. That's fucking torture! Sammy looks up at Finn from between Finn's legs, eyes shining and cheeks flushed, even pinker than Finn's. It seems like it worked, Sammy says. Your memory came back. Fuck off, Finn says with no malice behind it. You fight dirty, you Canadian cheater! Messing up Sammy's hair with both hands, before moving his hands up to his own face, giggling helplessly. You remember what you promised yet? Sammy asks sweetly. Or do I need to try again? And Finn's eyes go wide, as Sammy moves back into prime torture position. You most definitely do not, Finn says, putting his hands over as much of his stomach as he can cover. I remember. Really I do. Oh yeah? Sammy asks. What was it then? Finn isn't really sure why he's blushing so much as he looks away and mumbles. You wanna fuck me? You said you wanna, and I want you to. Please. But Sammy doesn't seem to mind, scrambling over to the dresser and rummaging till he pulls out a bottle of lube and walks back over to the bed. Now it's Sammy's turn to blush as he says, I was thinking, maybe you could... His eyes darting from Finn to the mirror, back to Finn, and Finn gets a very knowing smirk on his face that makes Sammy squeak and blush redder. Kinky thing, Finn says, not without affection. You want to watch in the mirror, don't you? I like it, Sammy says, shyly, before he spills out all in a rush. I mean, I want to see the look on your face, but fuck, Finn. I'm fucking. I've wanted to fuck you from behind for so long. You've got the most amazing fucking ass, and your damn back, and just... Please? You've thought about this, then. Finn says, the smirk fading off his face, and turning to a look of awe, and Sammy looks stunned. Of course I have, Sammy replies. You'd probably be deeply unsettled by the amount of times, as a matter of fact. Highly flattered, more like, Finn says, before getting himself down at the front of the bed, and getting up onto all fours, looking at Sammy with the ghost of that smirk on his face. You gonna fuck me then? Finn asks, and Sammy is up behind him on the bed in seconds, slowly rubbing and tracing patterns all over Finn's ass, before smacking him once hard, making Finn squeak. Okay, I have. Okay, look, you gotta promise me something, okay? Finn says, his voice almost serious, in spite of the huge grin that's twitching the corners of his mouth, threatening to spread across his face. And Sammy is immediately concerned. Anything, Finn. Fuck. We don't have to do this, we can just... Sammy starts to say, but Finn shakes his head. It's not that at all, Finn says earnestly. Want this too, Sammy? Trust me, it's just... And Finn is actually blushing and giggling a little bit. Fuck, this is embarrassing. But just... Be careful where you grab, huh? What do you mean? Sammy asks, slowly running his hands up so he can tease down Finn's lower back and over his ass again. Finn licks his lips and grins, ducking his head a bit before saying, so quick Sammy can barely understand, just grab carefully. There's a lot back here I want to grab, Sammy says, and bite, if we're being honest. and Sammy can't resist taking a bite at Finn's ass, and Finn squeaks even louder than before. That's fine! Finn squeals and Sammy bites again with an actual nom 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 sound. And Finn starts giggling harder. Sammy biting and squeezing, and Finn laughing and moaning a little, until Sammy's hand wanders near under the curve of Finn's ass, and Finn yells, "No!" so loudly, Sammy almost falls over. Sammy looks up at Finn in the mirror with knowing eyes, and Finn swallows hard, knowing full well what he's just set himself up to do. "Oh, please, just fuck me," Finn says, hopefully, and Sammy laughs and opens the bottle of lube, squeezing a good amount over his fingers, slicking them up. "I'll remember that spot though," Sammy says, for future reference. And before Finn can protest too much, Sammy is slowly easing one long slick finger inside of him, and Finn gasps at the slow burning sensation, feeling as always like a bit much at first, but that sensation quickly giving over to a feeling of not quite enough as Finn relaxes more. Sammy moving his finger and curling it just a bit till Finn whispers. Sammy doesn't answer in words, but he slowly adds a second finger alongside the first, and repeats the gentle curling motion for several long, tortuously pleasurable moments till Finn shudders, arms trembling, and says through gritted teeth, "Fuck me, Sammy, please, need it, ready, need you please." The needy moan Sammy lets out in response is all the reply Sammy needs, and Finn closes his eyes. Somehow he's convinced it'll feel even better if he can't see it coming, the darkness making him even more attuned to the slick sounds of Sammy lubing himself up. Sammy moaning and cursing softly to himself before he feels Sammy kneeling behind him. Sammy slowly teases his cock down the crack of Finn's ass, making Finn gasp, whispering, "Open your eyes, Finn. Want you to watch this." And as Finn opens his eyes, Sammy shifts himself into position, slowly starting to push into Finn, and Finn lets out a shaky, "Oh fuck, Sammy," as Sammy enters him, and shifts his hand up to grind Finn's hips tight, hard enough to bruise. Sammy knows he won't be able to last terribly long. The sight of Finn running back against him, the muscles of his back flexing, already too much to bear. But looking up in the mirror to see Finn biting at his lips and groaning, his eyes meeting Sammy's in the mirror, shoots the sensation up sky high, and Sammy can scarcely stand it. Sammy suddenly wraps one arm around Finn's chest and pulls Finn back against his own chest, the angle shifting so that Sammy is deeper inside Finn. Sammy's mouth pressing bruising kisses to Finn's shoulders and throat. Finn once again very grateful for all that post-training stretching, though he's fairly certain Jason Albert never intended it to serve this sort of purpose. "Look at you," Sammy murmurs, eyes on the mirror, and Finn gazes at the reflection, eyes heavy-lidded, a lazy grin on his face, resting his head back against Sammy. "You're gorgeous, Finn. You're fucking gorgeous. You feel so good. So fucking good. Can't take it. Fucking hell, Finn." With that moan, Sammy lets Finn go so that he's back on all fours, and Sammy's pounding into Finn hard and erratic, cursing and moaning, and Finn hears himself moaning right back, begging Sammy to come, telling Sammy he wants it, needs it, please, please. And Finn feels Sammy withdraw from him as he watches it in the mirror, sees Sammy's eyes squeeze tight shut as he strokes himself only a couple of times, before finishing hot and sticky all over Finn's ass and lower back, gasping Finn's name as he does. They stay like that, Finn collapsing onto his stomach and Sammy kneeling behind him for a few moments, before Sammy opens his eyes and lets out a long, happy sigh. "Don't move," Sammy says. "I'll go get some washcloths, unless you want a shower." Finn sighs happily back in response. "It's a lovely idea," Finn says, "but I'm not quite sure I'm up for that level of movement." Sammy laughs and stands up a bit awkwardly, shifting around Finn's sprawled legs to get to the bathroom. Finn wants rather badly to roll over onto his back, but that seems awfully rude in someone else's bed. So he resists the urge till Sammy comes back and he feels a warm, wet washcloth against his back, making Finn coo happily. Sammy gently gets Finn cleaned up, briefly hurrying back to the bathroom to drop the rags in the sink, and coming back to see that Finn, still on his stomach, has somehow sprawled enough to cover most of the bed, his feet up on the pillows. "Finn," Sammy says, grinning. "You gotta move." "Don't think so," Finn says airily. "This is my bed now, and it's quite comfy this way." "Finn!" Sammy sings songs warningly. "You sure you don't want to move?" "I said it's my bed!" Finn replies, evidently, fully back into his brattiest mode. "And I am very, very Eek!" Sammy is eagerly and happily squeezing, just under the curve of Finn's ass on both thighs, and Finn is thrashing madly, squealing giggles. "Sammy! Sammy, Sammy, please!" Finn shrieks, "Oh! Kill you! Sammy, don't fucking stop!" "Don't fucking stop? No problem!" Sammy replies, squeezing faster, and Finn howls. The shriek of a little brother who's been trapped by that trick before. I'll move! Finn begs, and Sammy stops at once, cheerily adding, "Oh, good!" as Finn flops like a sulky, pouty fish till he's face to face with Sammy, who leans over and kisses him on the nose, disarming Finn instantly. "You're lucky you're very cute," Finn grumbles, and Sammy blushes immediately. "Can we get under the covers at least?" Sammy asks, and Finn nods as they squirm themselves up and around enough to get under the covers, without actually having to get off the bed, both of them tangling around the other immediately, arms and legs intertwining. "Oh, good," Sammy says sleepily. "You're a cuddler." "Hideo calls me Tsukushi Tako," Finn says, smiling against Sammy's neck, pressing a drowsy wet kiss there as his eyes flutter shut. "Adrian calls me his octopus too," Sammy sighs, happily kissing Finn on the top of the head, as they start to drift to sleep. The end. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of WrestleRotica. We hope that you enjoyed this week's story. If you enjoyed this week's story, please be sure to like, review, and subscribe to us in iTunes. Visit us elsewhere online, including Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, and as always, our official website, WrestleRoticapod.com. Thank you and have a good week.